Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers, sisters, viewers, friends of Iqra TV. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I'm your host Iqbal Bana. Glad to be with you again today. Today I come to you from a very unique place that I visited a few weeks ago, and you may have seen it on the program when I came to Forget Me Not Hospice. We showcased the work of the hospice at that time. We were indoors, we had colleagues from the hospice here, and today we wanted to come back to you live, talk to some very unique people who are involved and engaged in helping and running the hospice on a day-to-day basis. As you heard last time, this hospice is based in Huddersfield, which is surrounded by a plethora of communities. There's a very large Muslim, black and ethnic minority community surrounding it as well. The reason I came to the hospice the first time, I heard the hospice, I was not aware of it. Then when I became aware of it, I realized that they do some amazing, phenomenal work helping families, particularly children, because the hospice is for children, and they take people in and support families for children who have what we would term end of life. These are children from the age of pre-birth or up to the age of 16, and sometimes maybe longer than that. But these are people who are suffering from some illnesses, and they've been told that they don't have much time to live. And those are the most critical time for the children as well as for the parents and the wider family. And the work that they do in supporting those children, providing care, not just to the children themselves, but the families themselves as well, is absolutely amazing and phenomenal. So when I heard about the work they do, but much more importantly, when I found out that over 55% of the children that they look after come from the black and ethnic minority, particularly the Muslim community. Now the hospice is not sort of government funded. It has 6% funding from the government. The rest of the funding is raised through either donations or they do fundraising through various activities. And what I wanted to find out was how engaged our Muslim community, and there's over 40,000 people living in and around the district of Kirklees near Huddersfield, both in Batley, Dewsbury, Huddersfield, Ravensthorpe, how connected they are with this particular service and this hospice. Because as I say, over 55% of the service users are from the Muslim community. And when I heard those figures, I was really shocked, to be honest with you. And I was mortified that, we have a service here that provides amazing care, but yet the awareness of their presence is not widely known in our community. And that's why we tried to showcase that when we did the first program. Today, I have some very important and interesting guests who are connected with the hospice and who want to make sure that the Muslim community in particular are not only aware of what they do, but are engaged in the work of the hospice and support it any way they can. Now, last year we had the mayor in Kirklees, Councillor Masood Ahmad, who's a very dear friend of mine, known him for many, many years, and I'm sure many of you will have seen him before on other programs as well as my own program. And he decided to make his appeal. Every mayor in every town and every city has the opportunity to nominate one charity or two charities, and they raise money for that particular charity for the whole of their 12 months when they are mayor. And Masood was the mayor of Kirklees, and he decided to select Forget Me Not Hospice as his main charity to help raise much needed funds for this particular charity. So I've got Masood with me as well. Then I've got Liz Meets, who is the Director of Care, and I also got Salma Pando, who is the Community Engagement Officer. So I'll be talking to them. Can I say Assalamu alaikum to all of you? Good evening, Liz. Salma, Masood, welcome. Thank you for coming on my program. I'll start with you, Masood. I mean, you were the mayor of Kirklees, the first citizen of the area of Kirklees. I'm sure you had many calls on your time and your support, and you decided to choose Forget Me Not Hospice as your one and only charity for which to raise funds. What drove you to do that? What was your engagement and what motivated you?
Assalamu alaikum. I came to the charity when it first opened about 10 years ago, and got a flavour of what they did, and knew a bit about them but not enough. And somebody who's lost two children, I had a 6-year-old who sadly passed away and a 20-year-old, and whilst we were in hospital with my children, we didn't have any services or anything where we could go in terms of the support, respite or help or a bit of counselling, somebody to talk to. And I thought to myself, surely there must be something out there that could help families. So obviously knowing what I wanted, and then getting to know about the hospice, and the hospice staff coming to see me, telling me more about the charity.
So was this somebody, a member of your own family then?
My 2 boys.
Oh, your 2 boys.
I
Sorry, I
did.
didn't hear that bit.
6-year-old
Oh,
and 20-year-old that
Right.
sadly passed away.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So I chose the charity based on them,
Your personal experience.
from personal experience.
Right.
I mean, lost 2 boys.
Oh, may Allah bless them. Obviously, so you have a very personal connection with Forget Me Not Hospice, and you benefited from the service itself.
Well, I didn't use their service,
Right.
but because because we didn't have anything to
Not
go
at that
with
time.
at that time, and then having found out about what Forget Me Not
right.
Hospice does,
Okay.
I thought to myself, hang on a minute, I want to do some work for this charity. I met the staff, spoke to them a bit more about the hospice, and I thought this is the one charity that resonates my heart.
Yes, exactly.
And,
Oh, yes.
And then I thought I'm going to devote all my energy and time to this charity and make it my mayor's charity for the year.
I can clearly understand that now. Now that you shared that story with us. May Allah bless your boys, and may Allah give them the highest place in Jannah, and obviously your family sabr as well. But I mean, that is a very good motivation for you. But I mean, as I said the last time, we had a sister called Anila who joined me on my program, and she shared her experience. She had a difficult time with her baby as well, stillbirth, that she went through, and the hospice really helped her. And she's become a good friend of the hospice. I was hoping that she would be joining us today as well, to continue to share with us some of the experiences and her thoughts, and how Forget Me Not has become a friend to her as she's progressed and moved on. But in that charitable year, I know you did an enormous amount of work, because as I mentioned last time, the hospice does not receive a lot of funding from the government. In fact, they only get a minimum amount of funding. If I remember correctly, it's only 6%. The rest of the 94% that they need is actually raised through various sources, either through the shops that they have, or through other charity events that they carry out, or from donations. Now, obviously, as part of your mayor's fundraising appeal, you had to go to people and ask them to contribute and donate. How did that sort of response to that occur?
I mean, again, going back to the point that you made, I mean, I didn't realize they'd only got 6% from the government, and most of it was through donations and businesses and the work that they did in the community. And I thought, I want to do some work for them. So I went to local businesses, told them about my charity in terms of what they do. I told them about the 50% of families with South Asian and Muslim families that use the facilities. And it's not just a hospice, it's a home for them to be there. They get respite, they get there's hydrotherapy, there's a lot more counselling, a lot more support. So I was telling them about that, and the amount of money that they actually raise up to, I think, about 6 million or more a year. So on the back of that, I spoke to the businesses and I said, I want to do something with yourself. I want to do some fun days and get involved with your galas. So some of the communities and businesses did a gala, and in that gala, they raised funds to support my charity and gave donations towards that. The restaurants obviously got on board, the bedding companies got on board and said, yeah, we want to help, we want to support in whatever way we can. I think I was very fortunate wherever I went, not just because of me. I think talking about the hospice and what it did for families and how they were, people opened their doors for me and said, yeah, we want to help, we'll do whatever we can. I can't remember any business saying no to me at all. So that was one element. What I also did was I made links with the mosques as well through my time, and I spoke to the mosques about what they're doing through Ramadan and what they're doing generally in the community. So I met committee members, talked about the charity, and they said, why don't you come on a Friday sermon? And after the sermon's over, we'll give you a couple of minutes before we do the sermon, you come in and talk about what the hospital is about, and then...
In all this, did you get a feeling that the awareness of the hospice in our wider community was not there. Were you sort of what you were doing was actually raising awareness? Because as I say, I wasn't aware of the Forget-Me-Not Hospice until I think I was invited, because there's a connection between the royal family as well with the hospice. Princess Beatrice is a patron of the hospice, and I know when she came, I was invited. That's the first time I came here. That's when I started to learn about the hospice itself. So did you find that there was a lack of knowledge and awareness?
There was not many people knew about the hospice, and also they thought it was a place, and it's sad to say this, that where children go to pass away. And I don't think they really understood what a hospice was. It was more than just a hospice. And I think when I started talking about that and giving them a bit more information, because I did ask families to come over and see the hospice, but I was showing them videos of the hospice and on Facebook, as well as obviously the internet, what it does. And then they realised that what it was and who it helped and supported, and they got a bit more understanding. I think it was the education thing coming from me really resonated to those communities, and they got a bit more understanding of somebody who's been through having lost two boys, but also talking about what the children's hospice was about. But I was shocked to find out hardly anybody knew about the hospice, other than those families that had used the hospice.
Yeah, and as Councillor Maqsood says, there's this myth in our community. It's not a myth. I mean, people have this misnomer about people going into hospices, whether you're an adult or a young person or a child, that you go there and you die and that's it. But the support and the service that the hospice provides, as we learned the last time we were here, was just absolutely phenomenal. And as a testament to that was Anira, who's on the program, who shared how, going through a very challenging and difficult period of her life, the hospice became a sort of sanctuary for her, and gave her that strength to not only not survive the challenge that she faced, but also overcome it as well. Now, I'll come back to you. We've got Liz Meets, who's the Director of Care. Obviously, we showcase some of the work that you do over here, but a lot of people still have this notion about hospices are not a friendly place to go to, But, obviously we learned that this is not like a hospital. There are many sort of support services available. Now, obviously for the Muslim community in particular, they'll be interested in learning more about how the hospice provides care, bearing in mind their religious and cultural needs. So how do you address some of those issues when you're faced by a Muslim family?
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and I'm very proud that we do represent the community that we serve, because I think that that's really very important, is making sure that we have services that can support that diversity and make sure that we break down barriers. And I think for me it's important to have people like Salma and Tara, and we have another lady called Alex who represents another community that work here, so that we can really understand what some of the barriers might be in order for families to come and access our services. And the more that we do, and this is why this is such a wonderful opportunity, that we can really raise that awareness and hopefully help people to see it as somewhere that support can happen on an individualised basis. And for me, I think as a hospice we absolutely do that. We do look at each family as an individual family unit, and we build their support around that family, addressing what the cultural needs might be, what the language needs might be, what the care needs are, what their wider family needs are. So I'm proud to say that I feel that we do that.
Can I reinforce that, because I'm not sure whether you remember, and I'm sure you will remember, one of the things we heard about last time when we were here was about this family that came from Glasgow, whose young child had been transferred from Glasgow to Wakefield Hospital, who unfortunately passed away. And when the baby had died, they needed to transport the baby from Wakefield back to Glasgow, because the parents had made arrangements for the baby, for the ghusl, the bathing, to be done there, and for the janazah. Yet the family did not have sufficient finances to be able to take the baby through Glasgow, back to Glasgow, and do everything that we need to do, because the undertakers were asking a phenomenal amount of money. And it took the two nurses from this hospice, who actually working with the family, the mother and the father, decided to pick up the baby from the hospital in Wakefield and drove in their own car all the way to Glasgow and dropped the parents with their baby to the masjid there. And I said this last week or the week before on my TV program, and I said it when we heard about this when we were here. It was a shame that our Muslim community, because they're not engaged, that they were not able to help. And I'm sure had they been aware, that they would have been helped, they would have been able to find some support within our community, because we've got like Sadqa Jariya, which is based in Dewsbury, and others who I'm sure would have stepped forward straight away to try and help this family. But the more important thing is the dedication, the commitment of the two nurses who are working here, who took it upon themselves to actually do what they did. May Allah bless them, and we all thank them for what they did. Now I know you said this when we were here last time, that when it comes to faith issues, food issues, that all these things are catered for. And if the families, because within the Asian community in particular, we have extended families. So if somebody is suffering and they're at end of life, you probably get a lot of more people who would not be necessarily welcomed in a hospital. But how do you cope with that here?
Yeah, again, it's about planning in advance. So when we know the children that are here, our housekeeping staff will talk to our care team and plan what the menus might need to be around that family unit. There are families that wish to come in and bring food in with them, and again, we plan and allow for that. We have to make sure that we have the availability with the facilities to be able to support large families. But I think not that far back, we supported a family in what's called our Snowflake Suite. So it's where the children go after they've died, and we allow the family to come in and spend time with them. I think they were joined by 12 siblings at one point.
Right.
So we had to make sure that there was enough care staff around so that they could support the many siblings in keeping them occupied, so that the family, the extended family, can come and just have that time to concentrate with their child. But so important that the whole family could be there. But we do that through planning and through talking to the family and seeing what it is that they need when they're here with us.
I mean, that is fantastic, and that's amazing. And as I say, issues such as this, it's not just a case of providing support when somebody is passing away, the child is dying and the parents and the extended family need some support, but you provide sort of a respite care support as well. But beyond that, you also provide support around providing families with information about funding issues, benefits issues, things like that. So how extensive is that support network that you have?
So again, it's integral, it's part of the whole package that we offer. So a family, when they're referred in to us, and we go through a system to be able to see if they meet our criteria. Once they've met our criteria, they'll be assigned somebody within the family support service who will support the family with those wider practical and more sort of practical sort of emotional sort of issues, while the clinical care team will get on with understanding the actual child's medical needs, so that we make sure when they are here as a family that we can support the children, so meeting whatever medical need that they have. But yes, the extensive support with the wider family support team will be assessing what their sort of financial status is with the family, so that we can make sure we look to see what else is available for them. It might be individual one-to-one support with the siblings, because again, the siblings, they might need some attention, they might need some support, because often the parents' attention is with the child with the condition, so we need to make sure that those siblings are able to cope and deal with the fact that
so it's a holistic care package.
Yeah, it's very, very holistic,
right, okay.
which is great.
Well, I'll come to Salma in a minute. I mean, you are the community engagement sort of manager for the hospice. So what's your primary role?
Well, I was employed really to engage with South Asian community and raise that awareness within our community and let them know what the hospice is about, and try and break down some of those stigmas and barriers attached to the word hospice. Because like you mentioned, often people just think it is for end of life and letting the child die, and my job is there to go out into communities, and I went to schools, madrasas, local community centres, and I spoke to the community about what we do and the services that we provide.
Right. And how do they respond to that?
Quite shocked sometimes.
Right.
Quite shocked because they weren't aware. So a lot of it was just about educating them because they didn't realise that we offer such a wide variety of services.
Right.
So it's just getting that kind of information out there to them.
So coming back, Maxie, obviously you made, last year, obviously as a mayor, you know, you contributed by selecting this Forget Me Not as your primary, the only charity for which you did some fundraising. I mean, how much did you manage to raise in the end? As I said,
I mean,
over 96%
the amount hasn't obviously officially been
calculated
at the moment, so I don't want to give a figure at this moment in time. But I set myself a target. I've surpassed the target, should I say. And
so are you able to say what your target was?
Well, my target was 20 grand.
Oh, right.
Originally 25. But
I know for a fact that you've gone well over that.
Well, I'd passed that.
Yeah, I know you have. And I say well over that.
And I'm still, as we speak, still supporting the charity as we speak now.
Yeah. Now that was going to be my next question. Is it just, you know, your 1 year mayoral appeal, or are you continuing that work that, you know, this amazing work that you started as, you know, as you move forward?
Well, I've had discussions with Salma from the team and Georgie and Gareth and others, and I've always made it quite clear, and they see me as an ambassador, a champion, which in my own eyes I feel that I am. And wherever I'm out and about in the community, wherever it may be a business, mosque or wherever, people now see me as a mayor, but ex-mayor, but was like a face of the hospice, really, who's still advocating out there, which I am. And I think I want to continue doing that. I think I feel that they do need people like myself and Salma and Tara and others that represent the South Asian and Muslim communities, because, like you said earlier on, some see it as a taboo, and I think we need to cross that barrier and engage and support them. Because when I spoke to businesses and mosques and others, yes, you know, they were saying, oh, we're supporting Syria, Turkey, Pakistan floods. I'm not stopping, you know, people from supporting those countries, but the hospice needs help and support, and they only get 6% from the government. The rest they don't get, and they can't survive without support and donations from business. So going back to your question, I'm still going to continue, still champion the role that I have with them at the moment.
I mean, as Maksud said, I mean, I've said this on my program many times, and I'll repeat it again. By all means, you know, the Muslim community in this country, by sort of a report produced by the Financial Times a few years ago, was sort of designated as the most giving community in the UK, that the Muslim community make far higher donations to good causes than any other community in this country. Now, most of, probably 99% of the donations, as Maksud says, goes to developing and third world countries, quite rightly sometimes. When you have disasters over there, like, you know, in Pakistan we had the floods, we had the earthquake in Turkey, Indonesia many years ago, etc. But as I've said over and over again, that while we need to continue to do that, there are charities in this country that we need to start looking at as well and supporting as much as we can, because we made this our country. We live here, our children are born here, they're going to grow up here, they're educated here, they've got jobs here, and this is their home. And we need to make sure that we play an equal role and contribute to the needs of the local communities as much as we do for the people back home in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Africa, wherever they may be. Now, coming back, Liz, in terms of growth and development, as more and more people, you know, hear about this and learn about this, and they become more aware of it, I mean, the demand might increase for you, obviously. That's one downfall by, you know, raising awareness. Are you in a position to cope with that if suddenly, you know, there's more demand placed upon you?
Yeah,
because of the constraints that we have now, the economic constraints, you know, the energy crisis, etc.
Yeah. So we know that there are a lot more there than we already reach, and for us, that we don't want any family to go through the death of a child alone. We want to be able to support them. So I think it's about our forward planning, our strategy is thinking about what the next 10 years looks like, and for us that's ensuring that we're sustainable, so that in the next 10 years and beyond that we can still be here and we can still be managing the need and the demand. And it might be that we have to look at things slightly differently. One of the things that we're doing at the moment is engaging a lot more with volunteers, so that volunteers can support some of the activities that go on in care. So for instance, we have quite a few group support sessions now that we have available, and that's about having families having contact with each other and getting some peer support as well as the professional support that comes through the hospice. And volunteers can support those groups. You know, it's the trained staff obviously a part of it, but also volunteers. And that way we can increase the numbers of beneficiaries that we support by widening our workforce and utilising volunteers that actually do want to come and support a lot of the work that we're doing. So we've definitely got it in our plan that, like I said, is within that 10-year strategy to make sure that we are still able to function, but sadly that will mean that we need that support from the community and wider to make sure that we've got that financial stability.
Yeah, and Anila, who was supposed to be on our program, who unfortunately could not join us today. We were hoping that she'll be able to join us and share with us how she, having been made aware of the hospice, come here, received the support and the services that she received, then actually went on to become, and he still is, a volunteer here who comes here, you know, whenever she can to try and support the staff. And it reinforces what Liz has said, that people who come and use the services, who benefit from it, actually then it's part of their sort of therapy, I presume, you know, and you know, helping them to become stronger after a very challenging and difficult time in their life, actually volunteer, because that also provides solace to them that they have done something valuable to others. So that volunteering is absolutely vital and important, isn't it? You know, not just for you, but for the people who've come here as well. Now, in terms of the medical care, people may have this some misconception that the hospital might provide better medical care than the hospice can, but that's not the case. In fact, from what I've learned, it's absolutely the opposite, isn't it? That, you know, it's more one-to-one, more personalised, individual tailored care for that particular individual, whereas in hospitals, I mean, the doctors and nurses do phenomenal work, and you know, we support them in every way we can, but they cannot devote necessarily time to one individual. They have to look after many people. Would you say that description that I've given is right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we see within hospitals, the NHS now as a whole, is that the demand for services is so high. And so families accessing here, they will get that one-to-one input. They will have a key worker that's a clinical nurse that supports them all the way through their journey with the child, and to make sure that we can support them, whether that's symptom management, whether when they have a new symptom that we look at that and we manage that accordingly, that we can be there at any point in time that they need us. And that's the real positive, is that we do have that time. Whenever a child comes in for a short break stay, we always do a review of all their medication to make sure that we're maximising the potential of the medication that they're on, and we have several non-medical prescribers so that we're able to change prescriptions, whether that's to increase or decrease or change the medication. So they really do get that true bespoke support in terms of what their illness is, and around that we do obviously liaise very closely with the hospitals, because the children will always have a named consultant within the hospital, and they might be a specialist in certain areas depending on what the condition is. So we will always liaise, because it's very important to communicate with the hospitals and the NHS staff to make sure that we're all hearing what we're doing, we're all seeing it, and we're all sharing what we're doing.
So you're both working from the same hymn sheet, etc. Both aware of the medical state of the person at any particular given moment in time. Now, if people may think that the nursing staff or the care staff here may not be as qualified or experienced Because this is what some people may think, that in the hospital the staff are professional, qualified, experienced, but that is not the case. The people who work in the hospice are equally, if not more dedicated, more committed, but they have all those qualifications, all the experience that is required, not just in a hospital, but in the hospice, probably even more. Now, in terms of the like I say, you provide care here, but do you also provide respite care for the parents? So, someone like you just mentioned that when the child comes back maybe for a few days. So if a parent is struggling with their child and say they're at home and they want, some respite, you'll be able to take them in?
Yes, absolutely. So again, as part of the whole assessment process, we look at what the needs of the family are, and it might be that they're sort of given so many nights per year that they can use us for short breaks. But that doesn't have to be in the hospice, it can be within the child's home. We also provide respite if the child's in hospital as well. So quite often
we are showing some images to our viewers of that we took of your various facilities out there. So while Liz is talking, in the background you'll be seeing all the rooms, the parents, where the parents stay, etc. So carry on, sorry Liz.
Yeah, no,
I've just been told that showing those images that we recorded. The snowflake room is being shown at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So the child has to go into hospital for whatever reason if they've got an acute condition for anything. Quite often the parents find it hard to stay in with the child because they might have other children at home that they need to look after. So that puts a huge strain. So again, our care team and our nurses can go in and actually be with the child in the hospital setting as well.
Oh, so they actually go into the hospital setting? Oh, right, I wasn't aware of that.
Which frees up the parents then if they need to get home for something or they need to do something else. So it's very flexible in terms of the support that we offer. If the children come here for short breaks, the family can come with them if they wish. They can stay in the same room as them, or they can use our parent facilities that are upstairs in the hospice, which are sort of self-contained rooms as such, with facilities to make drinks and things like that. So again, it's kind of very much around what it is that they need.
So it's like a home from home, isn't it? Try and create the environment of home for home. All right. No, that's good. I mean, as I say, we're showing some images. Because when we came here last time, we took some images and pictures of the rooms that parents can stay in, the snowflake room, the aqua pool, what do you call it? The hydro pool, yeah. So people can get an understanding of the wide support services and the facilities that they have at this place. I mean, when I came around, I was just absolutely blown away as to how good this setup is over here, and how amazing the support mechanism that they have for people who are going through these very challenging and difficult times. So, I mean, that's fine. But coming back, Maxi, as we said, we're going to go for a break. Inshallah, we'll be coming back soon. As I say, we're going to go for a break. Don't go away. Enjoy your cup of tea, coffee, faluda, or sharbat, or whatever it is. Inshallah, I'll see you back soon in a few minutes. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.